remembered to go live this week. Yeah, again, my apologies for what happened last week. That was just an entire 2.5 hour long brain fart, which, as you can imagine, smelled pretty bad. I am yours truly, Pat Dooley, here with episode number 31 of the 500, which is a show that Mike San Gregorio and I started late last year, where we have taken the Pro Wrestling Illustrated PWI 500 list of the 500 best wrestlers in the world, and we are pitting them against each other in a single elimination tournament. We are halfway through round number 2. We started with 500. We're down to 192 wrestlers left in the tournament. We are going to knock out 11 of them this morning. So yeah, last week, did an entire 2.5 hour stream, never clicked the go live button. So that's on me. But we're good now. We are live on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitch. So maybe I won't be alone in the chat this week like I was last week, because there was no chat. All right, so a lot to talk about in the world of wrestling. We will get to that as the show goes on. But first, let's head to ringside for our opening contest. Here in just a second, once I get the match started. There we go. Look at that. Professional show business. Okay, so as mentioned, we have now had 192 of these matches. You'd think we'd have the hang of it by now, but hey, we're just having fun here at the 500. Jesse Goddard, Mr. Spectacular, representing Ohio Valley Wrestling, upset DePope in episode number 11. Jesse Goddard is number 415 on the list, DePope number 98. And representing Consejo Mundial de Lucha Libre, the number 354 seed in our tournament, Atlantis Jr., who also pulled off an upset in episode 11 when he defeated Carl Anderson in what was the 6th shortest match of the tournament, one of only a handful that went less than 10 in-game minutes, which is really about 5 minutes. The clock is fast, in case you haven't noticed. Yeah, so we mentioned the promotions that these two are representing. CMLL 4-8 in the tournament so far, which is the second worst record among promotions with at least 5 matches. Ohio Valley Wrestling, which Goddard is representing, 1-1 in the tournament, and that first one comes from Jesse Goddard. So Goddard's the last hope for Ohio Valley Wrestling in this tournament. Still a handful from CMLL in case Atlantis loses. So far, some striking to start. Goddard's definitely the stronger of the two, though Atlantis does have the size advantage, about 2 inches and about 3 pounds. So not a big difference. Oh, going for the pin early. But Atlantis was able to kick out before referee Atsushi Ishiguro could even get into position. So, yeah, as I mentioned, big week in wrestling news, a big fortnight in wrestling news, really. We've had a lot going on between, I mean, we thought the biggest news in wrestling for a while was going to be the Sasha Banks Naomi situation, but man, the other shoe didn't drop. A whole closet full of shoes did. We got all kinds of injuries in wrestling. So many top stars are out. WWE panicking, pulling the breaking the in case of glass call Brock, so yeah, Brock is back heading into a showdown with Roman, which we've seen so many times, but this time he's wearing a new hat. Of course, all of that is a distraction from the Vince McMahon sex scandal. No, not that one. No, not that one either. This is a new one. This time it seems to have been consensual, except he may have used company money to hush her up, which, uh, I mean, cheating on your wife is bad to begin with, but that doesn't get you removed by a board of directors. Misallocation of company funds almost certainly will. So, so we'll see what happens there. Stephanie McMahon, the temporary CEO and chairwoman of the board, after having stepped away for personal reasons a couple of months ago, I now kind of suspect I know what those family reasons were. Yeah, so lots and lots going on. We talked about Cody Rhodes' injury. Obviously, Kenny Omega is still hurt. Randy Orton is hurt now. I'm sure I'm missing another major star who's out injured right now. Rumors are going around about Sasha Banks now potentially being a free agent, although that's unconfirmed. But that would be a major get for any promotion in the world. I suspect Naomi will eventually come back to WWE. I think Sasha would be a great fit in AEW as the one to finally end Jade Cargill's streak. But that's just me fantasy booking. Although I kind of suspect that's also TK fantasy booking as well. And I can't say I blame him, because that's if you get the opportunity to sign Sasha Banks, you sign Sasha Banks. Let's see. Kota Ibushi in New Japan having some issues. New Japan and AEW's Forbidden Door pay-per-view is coming together. One of the more recent match announcements, I'm not sure how I feel about. It's going to be a good match. Don't get me wrong. I just feel like they probably could have done something a little bigger than Will Ospreay and Orange Cassidy. Even if it was like a 10-man tag with, the AEW Chaos representatives against United Empire, which is what I thought was happening with the big brawl at the end until Orange came out. That feels like a bigger match than just a straight up one-on-one. But yeah, Moxley and Tanahashi, we all suspected that was the direction they were going to go, and it was confirmed. Big fan of both men. I think this is going to be a great match. Oh my, nice move there from Atlantis, coming off the ropes. Oh, looked like he was going to do something off the ropes, but Goddard's got to his feet. Snap, head scissor there. 1, 2, 2.9, says Ishiguro. Ishiguro, our referee from Pro Wrestling Wave. We do, as I've mentioned in previous episodes, I try to keep the referees from promotions that neither of the wrestlers are representing. So if we've got a WWE and a New Japan guy in there, I will lean toward using an AEW wrestler or a referee. So that's the logic there. I'm also trying to get spread it around. Ooh, victory roll from Atlantis. 1, 2.9. A lot of really close calls here. Now that we're past the 10-minute mark, we're past the 12-minute mark now, but it feels like the last couple minutes. A big deep arm drag there from Atlantis. Atlantis Jr. with the drop kick, taking Jesse Goddard down. You will notice there is no interference. There are no managers or seconds at ringside. This is just a straight up one-on-one tournament. None of that will be tolerated. We have had a handful of countouts, but for the most part, every match ends in the ring with a pinfall or a submission. Goddard's firing out those punches. Again, Mr. Pecktacular. You may remember him from his days as one half of the Bromans in TNA, now Impact, alongside DJZ, who's now Joaquin Wilde in NXT 2.0. Oh, snap, Huracan Rana. 2, 3, Atlantis Jr. picks up the win. The number 354 seed advances to the round of 128. So it's not an upset that he won, but it is an upset that he has made it this far. Oh, big time victory for number 354 Atlantis Jr. Let me get the spreadsheet updated here with that result. 354 Atlantis Jr. over. You got it's number 415. Only a 75% evaluation from the team over at Fire Pro, which might put this match in the bottom 10 reviewed matches. Let me pull up that list here. It will tie for 7th lowest rated match in the tournament so far. So not off to a great start here as we kick off the second half of the second round. Lots and lots of big matches to come here. We are going to see the PWS debut of the number 2 seed in our tournament since he got a first round bye. And we will acknowledge Roman Reigns when he's in action later. We're also going to get a big main event between Tetsuya Naito from New Japan Pro Wrestling and Soberano Jr. From CMLL. We mentioned CMLL not having a great run in the tournament thus far, but they are still represented by Soberano. So we'll see that main event. We've also got Sammy Guevara against his former AEW co-worker turned free agent after recently being released. Stu Grayson. I mean, he wasn't released. His contract was allowed to expire, but, not a huge difference between the two. We've also got coming up Atticus Kogar against Zicky Dice, the legendary Dr. Wagner Jr. against Gino Medina, lots and lots of cool stuff. Sammy Guevara against Yuki Ueno. But coming up right now, as soon as I can find him on... so because we have a 500-person tournament going on, there are a lot of wrestlers in my Fire Pro right now. There we are. We're going to head to the ring now for match number 2, pitting Balian Aki from Gato Move Pro Wrestling against Big Damo, who is back to using that name on the indies. But WWE fans will know him as Killian Dane. And here he comes, the Beast of Belfast, who has magically grown his hair back. It's just because the edit I downloaded is from before he shaved his head. In the first round, he upset the number 127 seed Bandito. He is the number 386 on the list. Balian Aki, number 383 on the list. So very close matchup in terms of seeds. Balian Aki upset number 130 KZ in episode 10. He is the Gato Move Super Asia champion. He representing Gato Move, which is 2-1 in the tournament, which makes it one of only 11 promotions with a winning record in our tournament. Damo obviously going to be looking for strength here. 6'4", 322 pounds, the native of Belfast, Northern Ireland. In there with Aki, much smaller, much quicker at 5'9", 172. The native of, my apologies, my Hindi pronunciation is horrible. Muzaffarnagar, India. I'm sure I butchered that, and I apologize. I should have looked that up before the show started to get a pronunciation, and I didn't. And that's on me. But yeah, we've seen Big Damo starting to pop up in just about every promotion that isn't WWE over the last few weeks. His non-compete is over. Actually has been for a while. He was released late in the evaluation, or perhaps early after the evaluation period. Keep in mind the PWI 500 is based on results from July 1st to June 30th. So we have 11 days left in this evaluation. Well, 12 days, because I don't know if there have been any shows yet today. Days left in the evaluation period to determine the list. As I've mentioned on previous episodes, I can't imagine they'll have anybody at number 1 that isn't Roman Reigns, who was number 2 last year behind Kenny Omega. Could have been number 1 last year, but I think the edge went to Omega because at one point he held 3 PWI recognized world titles, which is true. He held 2 coming into into this evaluation period, but he's also missed a ton of time with injuries. I suspect Kenny will still probably wind up in the top 50 somewhere, maybe even top 20, just based on the work he did before his injuries. But it is kind of anyone's game this year in terms of the top 5 once you get past Roman. Last year was kind of a 2-horse race between Kenny and Roman. This year it's Roman and then everybody else. Yeah. There's a lot of people who could wind up there. Okada always making a strong case for himself. Hangman Page, CM Punk. Lots and lots of good stuff out there. Brock will certainly make the list this year after not making it last year. Edge had a good year. Cody's had a good year. It'll all depend on the evaluation criteria. Long-time readers of PWI, long-term wrestling fans will probably remember that in 1997, there was no clear-cut number 1 in the world, so they just gave their number 1 spot to the best technical wrestler in the world, who at that time was Dean Malenko. So that was a bit of a surprise that it wasn't Hogan, it wasn't Austin, it wasn't The Rock. It was Dean Malenko. So they may go that route this year. Maybe number 2 will be Bryan Danielson. Danielson's had a great run. Maybe number 2 will be Zack Sabre Jr. I doubt it will be, but it might be. Dean Malenko was number 1 in 1997. We'll find out. The full list will usually, it's typically released toward the end of September. And it's in the December issue of the physical magazine. But the list will leak sometime in the fall. So yeah, they typically have about 3 months to evaluate a year's worth of wrestling. Not an enviable task. Aki trying that spinning back kick. Damo dodges it, hits the elbow to the back, but Aki rolls him up. 1, 2. 0.9, almost a very quick victory there for Balian Aki. And Damo with the running senton. The guys over at New Legacy Inc., one of my favorite wrestling sim YouTube channels, would call that the big boy. Another spinning back kick attempt from Aki. Now following up with some strikes, signaling that this might be over. I thought he was going for a go behind, but instead he hits a snap suplex. Impressive strength from Aki, snap suplexing the 322-pounder. Damo has been ranked as high as 119 on the list back in 2018. This 386 is the lowest he has ever been ranked since his PWI 500 debut back in 2016. Aki has never made the list. This is his first time. He will almost certainly make the list again this year, having had a really good year in Gato Move. And you have likely heard his voice doing English commentary for various Japanese promotions. 2.9 again. Aki getting close to a victory there on Damo. Damo with a Death Valley driver. Not able to capitalize. Snap. Power slam. He's looking for that Ulster plantation, the one-handed electric chair driver. That's his finisher, possibly the Van Damo-nator. Seems less likely. We do use a slightly larger ring here in PWS than a lot of these guys are probably used to. Meanwhile, Aki is probably looking for his 450 or his Namaste Splash. Lots of options out there for Aki. Big suplex on the floor from Damo. Our referee for this match is Justin Borden from New Japan Pro Wrestling. Is out there calling it right down the middle. We are using the Japanese 20 count on the floor as opposed to the more traditional American 10. So if that 15 count was confusing to you, that's why. Fire Pro is a Japanese game, so it does come. Oh, Tope Konhiro from Balian Aki. It's only like a 7-year pro. Right at the 10 count. No, they're just taking turns throwing each other to the floor here. Possibly not the most compelling wrestling we will see today, hopefully. But definitely some brutality out there. Neither man really going for weapons, which are technically legal in the tournament. We've yet to have anybody disqualified for using them, which is good because our longest match of the tournament went nearly 50 minutes and was a bloodbath between Nick Gage and Brett Eisen. There's that 450 from Aki. Did it across Damo's back and another. So I guess that's kind of like a 900. Rather than going for the pin, he pulls him to his feet and gets a clubbing forearm to the back. Victory roll. Borden notices they're in the ropes. Does not count. As we close in on the 16-minute mark. Another 450. Nope. Instead, there's the Namaste Splash. Rolls him over. Hooks the leg. Too close to the ropes. Aki's had a couple of really good opportunities here. Stomping a mud hole in him and walking it dry as Balianaki back to the top rope. Another 450. For those of you keeping score at home, that is 1,350 degrees of rotation we've seen from him. Another Namaste Splash. Goes for La Magistral Cradle, but again, too close to the ropes. The young man from India has got to get Damo out of that corner. That's probably cost him the match 3 times now. Sends him into the corner again, running hip attack. Might have been a back elbow. It's hard to tell. Speaking of elbows, there's one to the back of the head. Damo gets him up for a big suplex. I just realized that the controller was going to disconnect, but I didn't hit the button in time to stop it from happening. Namaste Splash from Aki, and that is enough. Balian Aki advances to round number 3. Neglected to mention earlier that by virtue of his victory, Atlantis Jr. will now face the winner between Jacob Fatu and Brian Johnson, which is a match we will see later on this morning. Aki, by virtue of his victory, will now be facing the winner between Jimmy Lloyd and the tribal chief Roman Reigns. So unenviable position for Mr. Aki, but he has advanced. Excuse me. For 383. Balian Aki over 386. Damo got 100% evaluation, helping balance the scales a little bit after that 75 in our opener. Balian Aki advances to round number 3. So yeah, that's 310 now of the 500 have now been eliminated. We're just kind of plowing through these matches here. We will eventually get our winner, crown the first ever Pro Wrestling Simulated World Champion. Of course, Roman has to be considered one of the favorites there. But hey, don't count out Kenny Omega. Don't count out Cody Rhodes. Don't count out Bobby Lashley, who we haven't seen yet. Lots and lots of big stars still to come in the tournament that have yet to debut by virtue of their first round buys. But lots and lots still to come, including this next match, which should be a blast. We've got a showdown between New Japan Pro Wrestling and All Elite Wrestling. We'll see somebody who I'm a little surprised we have not seen at all in the build-up to Forbidden Door. That's Francesco Akira, the ragazzo prodigio, the prodigious guy, one of the newest members of the United Empire. Has not been a part of any of those group beatdowns, whereas Aussie Open have. So that's, I don't know, that's a little surprising to me, but he will be in there against a man who came very, very close to going to the match at Forbidden Door for the vacant. Okay, I just found an alternate attire for one of these wrestlers that made me shake my head a little bit. Kyle O'Reilly very nearly beat John Moxley to set up a match with Tanahashi at Forbidden Door. He came up short, so we will instead likely see Red Dragon in some sort of tag match. Unless that's already been announced. I haven't had a chance to watch Rampage yet. I had class Friday night. Francesco Akira, the number 306 seed, jumped from All Japan to New Japan recently after having spent the entire evaluation period in AJPW. He upset T-Bar back in episode 11, which was a 100% match. At the time, it was the 15th that we've had. Kyle O'Reilly, the number 50 seed representing Red Dragon, defeated Eli Isom back in episode 11. So it's number 50 against number 306. Kyle O'Reilly, one half of Red Dragon, as you saw from the logo there. Brian Zane from Wrestling with Regret is our referee. Kyle O'Reilly representing AEW, who is 49-38 in this tournament, which is the most of any matches in the promotion with the most matches. Nobody else has had 87 matches. That 49-38 record is the second best record among promotions with at least 15 matches, despite the 38 losses being more than any other company in the tournament. Meanwhile, on the other end of the spectrum, New Japan is 28-34, which is the worst record among promotions with at least 20 matches. The winner here, you can see as I mentioned, Brian Zane is our referee. The winner of this will face the winner of a match that's going to happen next week. So we won't know their opponent tonight. It will be either Naomichi Marufuji or the one called Manders, which we'll talk about next week's card in its entirety later on in this program. But for now, let's enjoy Kyle O'Reilly and Francesco Akira. As I say that, O'Reilly sends Akira to the floor. Kyle O'Reilly sending Akira to the floor. I feel like I'm missing a major wrestling news story when I was running through stuff earlier, just because there was so much has happened since last we spoke, gentle viewers, ladies and gentledems. We'll get to it as the show goes on. We'll take a little break once we hit the halfway point, and I'll do a quick search for news and see what I've missed. John Laurinaitis might be in some trouble based on his involvement in the Vince McMahon story. There were rumors that Kevin Dunn was being investigated for insider trading for dumping WWE stock before the Vince news came out. It's my understanding that is not being investigated now, which is dodging a bullet for Mr. Dunn, because that is serious prison time, unless you're, a member of Congress or the Supreme Court. But yeah, that would have been bad. Would have been bad. So Akira from Bergamo, Italy. I took Spanish in high school, not Italian. So unfortunately, my pronunciation is not good. Kyle O'Reilly, representing the Great White North, Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, which is my understanding not having a great time right now. Some issues in BC with communications being destroyed by local wildlife. So that's fun. Kyle O'Reilly, one of the best technical wrestlers in the world, but also a world-class striker. Definitely a very tough opponent for anybody. Nice Canadian destroyer there from Akira. Runs into a spinning back fist from O'Reilly. Step up Enzigiri. Kyle to his feet. And an uppercut to the throat of young Francesco Akira. And I mentioned, called him Prodigious Guy. A better translation, I looked it up, is the child prodigy. That makes a lot more sense. My limited understanding of Italian had ragazzo as guy or bud, but apparently it also can mean child, so ragazzo prodigio means child prodigy. Another step up Enzigiri there from Kyle O'Reilly. Big kick takes Akira off his feet. Pulls him over. Oh, he was going for a big spin kick to the back of the head, but Akira moved. But he does not get out of the way of this rolling heel hook. Collar and elbow back. Body drop from Akira. And a step-up drop kick almost sends Kyle to the floor. But he's back on his feet. Kyle O'Reilly tying him to the tree of woe. Now, with those forearms to the thighs, trying to Charlie horse the legs. Spinning heel trip. One half of total elimination, but there's no Bobby Fish to help him. Ankle lock now from Kyle. Akira manages to get into the ropes. Sent off the ropes. Big running kick from Kyle O'Reilly. Kyle O'Reilly, of course, representing the undisputed elite. One half of Red Dragon. One of the best technical wrestlers in the world, as I mentioned. Just a world-class star. Again, that rolling heel hook. Brian Zane's in there checking. Akira escapes. Snap suplex now from Akira. Pop-up mule kick from Kyle O'Reilly. Rolls him over. Oh, I don't know what he was looking for there, but it probably wasn't being kicked in the face by Francesco Akira. Trading strikes now here. That fighting spirit. Akira seems to be backing Kyle up, but O'Reilly fires off with that spin kick to the face. Back into the ankle lock. Yes. Brian Zane checking. Akira manages. Well, no, he kicked him in the face to get out of it that time. I thought he was going to get to the ropes. Big suplex right on the logo from Kyle O'Reilly. Coming off the ropes now. Big boot to the face. O'Reilly at 6 feet, 200 pounds is lanky. He's got a bit of size on Akira, who's only 5'9", 154. And Kyle using that reach advantage to hit him with those big, long kicks. Another ankle lock. Working over the lower body of Akira, trying to keep the high flyer grounded. Nice striking combination there from Kyle. Going back to I thought he was going to go back to the ankle lock. But instead he gets sent to the corner. Akira with that jumping back elbow. Akira now sending him into the corner. I thought he was going to charge in for another one of those elbows. Instead, just burying shoulders in the midsection. Stunner, no. Shiranui in the corner. 2.9. I almost thought that was going to be a massive upset. Rolling elbow there from O'Reilly. Rolls him over. Oh, thought he was going back to the ankle lock. Instead, it's Akira sending him into the corner. Knees to the midsection. Akira dragging Kyle toward the center of the ring. Backdrop suplex on the logo. Been a fun back and forth encounter here between the number 50 seed Kyle O'Reilly and the number 306 seed Francesco Akira. Spinning back kick to the midsection, and then a kick to the thigh. Goes back to the ankle lock. This time he's got his body between Akira and the ropes. Akira gets a kick to the face to get out of it. Lucky break there from the child prodigy, Il Ragazzo Prodigio. Didn't tie him efficiently to the Tree of Woe. Doesn't matter. Canadian Destroyer, Italian Destroyer in the corner from Akira. 1, 2, 3. That's enough. Francesco Akira pulls off another big upset. Took out T-Bar in round 1 and has now sent KOR Combat, Kyle O'Reilly, out of the tournament. Number 306 over number 50. Big time upset there for Akira. He will move on. As I mentioned, we will find out who his opponent is next week when Naomichi Marufuji takes on the one called Manders. The rest of our matches today, we will know who their opponents are based on who wins today's other matches. 17 minutes, 37 seconds with a Canadian Destroyer. 89% evaluation, which is pretty much right on our average after the 75 and then the 100 in our first 2 matches. So it is now time for the main event. We've still got a lot of action to get to before we get to that point, but it is the moment you've all been waiting for, the PWS debut of the Tribal Chief. Roman Reigns got a first round bye in our tournament. The top 12 seeds, the top 12 ranked people in the PWI 500 all did, just because that's how brackets work out. When you have less than 512, anyone who doesn't have an opponent on the lower end of the bracket gets a first round bye, which, as it turns out, there were 500 wrestlers, which means 12 didn't have first round opponents. He will be in there with hashtag Jimmy Lloyd, representing Game Changer Wrestling, which is so he's going to be looking probably more of a brawling style here against the Tribal Chief, the big dog, the undisputed WWE Universal Champion. Let's head to ringside. And Jimmy, may God have mercy on your soul here. We wish you all the best, as we do all of our wrestlers, but you've got a steep mountain to climb. Jimmy Lloyd, New Jersey native, 5'10", 220, upset Cash Wheeler back in episode 10. It was a 100% match, as most Cash Wheeler matches are. And he's in there against the Tribal Chief. 6'3", 265 pounds, from Pensacola, Florida. He was the number 1 wrestler in the world, according to PWI, in 2016. Likely will be again in 2022. Had a first round bye. So far, every one of the wrestlers who had first round byes that we have seen in the tournament has won. That's Kenny Omega, Drew McIntyre, Kota Ibushi, Finn Balor, Shingo Takagi, and Randy Orton. All have advanced to round number 3. Roman hoping to keep that streak alive as the number 2 overall seed, representing WWE, which has a 50-35 record in our tournament, which is the best among promotions with at least 15 matches. They are also the only promotion with 50 wins, which O'Reilly just had a chance to tie, but instead he lost. So WWE remains in first place in terms of matches won. Game Changer Wrestling, represented by Jimmy Lloyd, who is a hardcore deathmatch wrestler. So we are probably going to see some brutal stuff out of him to try to keep the Tribal Chief down. GCW 13-10 in the tournament so far, which is the 3rd best record among the 5 promotions that have at least 20 matches. So let's talk about Roman Reigns. I have been going back and rewatching all of the past Royal Rumbles. I've mentioned a few times before on the show, I am actually in training to become a professional wrestling commentator at the FXC Wrestling Academy here in Middle Tennessee, under the tutelage of AJ Gallant, as well as Tom Latimer and Jerry Lynn. It has been a great experience thus far through about 2 months of going to classes. I'm going to try. I neglected to mention at the top of the show, Mike San Gregorio, my usual co-host, is still out on family leave. It's looking like it might be a while before he can return. So I'm going to see if I can get some of my classmates to start joining me on these shows and co-host with me. But yeah, man, the stuff going on at FXE is it's really exciting. They're putting together this first class of wrestlers. There are a couple in there that are really special, and I look forward to seeing what they can do once we start promoting actual shows, which is probably still a few months away from happening. Excuse me. The yawn is from lack of sleep, not from lack of interest in what we've got going on in FXE. It's really exciting stuff. In addition to being a commentator there, I'm also learning the creative end of the business, learning how to put shows together and develop characters. So that's really, really exciting. It's quite literally like my dream when I was in high school to help book a wrestling promotion. So Roman Reigns, long tangent there. In order to better myself as a commentator, I'm trying to listen to as many different commentary teams as I can. So I've been watching the Royal Rumbles because those have mixed and matched so many times over the years, from Gorilla and Jesse to the monstrosity that was heel Michael Cole, just to hear diverse voices. In 2014, when Roman Reigns went on his run, and WWE decided that instead they wanted to prioritize the ill-begotten Batista Randy Orton match for Mania 30 before they eventually came to their senses and added Daniel Bryan to it as well. I think once Bryan was eliminated, if the plan was always for Bryan to not get the match, they should have pulled an audible when they heard the reaction that Roman was getting throughout that match and had Roman win the Rumble. Instead, they held off. They clearly always wanted to push Roman as a top guy, but they, in my opinion, they waited too long. Let the crowd turn against him before trying to push him as the mega babyface, instead of capitalizing on his red hot heat as a member of the Shield. And his growing popularity for being cool, rather than forcing another, smiling Diesel down our throat like they did in 1994 and 1995. And I think that's a big part of the backlash against Roman. WWE just has a tendency to get fixated on what they think they're going to do. Superman punch to the back of the head, takes Lloyd down, coming off the ropes, going for another. No, spear. This could be a quick one. 1, 2, 0.9. Jimmy Lloyd kicks out of the spear. But yeah, that's one of many blown opportunities by WWE Creative that I have noticed watching these Rumbles back. I still contend that in 2011, after Alberto Del Rio thought he won the Rumble and Santino Marella came back with the Cobra and almost won, should have called an audible then and had Santino win. The pop would have been magnificent. If you really wanted Alberto to lose to Edge in the opener at Mania that year for the title, you could still have him win his title match back at Elimination Chamber or whatever you wanted to do. But there were clearly no big plans for Del Rio coming out of that show. So I don't see why they got another Superman punch spear combo. 1, 2.9. Jimmy Lloyd showing a lot of heart here. Kicking out of 2 spears now. Again, no Paul Heyman at ringside, no Usos at ringside. There are no seconds allowed. There is no interference. Tiger Driver 2.9. Jimmy Lloyd almost pulled off a massive upset. I don't know what Roman was going for there, but Lloyd backdropped out of it to the top rope. Double stomp to the midsection. Is he going to do it again? Nope. He thought about it, but Roman got to his feet first. Rolls him over, pulls him up. In the business, we call that feeding. That's a term I somehow didn't know. The things you learn in wrestling school. Striking exchange ends with a big clothesline. No! Rolling elbow from Lloyd takes Roman down. Pulls him to his feet. Roman fires off forearms there. Sent into the corner. Comes right back out. Another Tiger Driver. No, Tiger suplex from Jimmy Lloyd. Both men needing to take a moment to catch their breath. Not sure what that reversal was, but Roman takes control off of what looked like was going to be it was a tackle, but it wasn't quite a spear from Roman. Abdominal stretch. No, into a spinning power bomb. 1, 2, 3. Jimmy Lloyd has defeated the tribal chief. Massive upset. This is, I do not believe this. Jimmy Lloyd has defeated Roman Reigns and will now move on to the round of 128. Guitarra de Angel, the move that Jimmy Lloyd used there, pulled off not the biggest upset of the tournament, seed-wise, but considering the highest seed to be eliminated thus far was number 17, to see number 2 go down is a huge surprise. Jimmy Lloyd. Wow. Roman Reigns is out in his first match of the tournament. So we now know Jimmy Lloyd will face Balian Aki in round number 2. We thought for sure we were going to see Aki and Reigns, but instead, Jimmy Lloyd, game changer wrestling, pulling off just a massive, massive upset. Again, the numbers may not suggest that it's as big as others we have seen. But Roman Reigns goes down in round number 2. So yeah, we got one more match here before we take our sort of halfway 5-minute break. Hard to do on an 11-match show, just because we're not going to take a break halfway through a match. We are not nationally televised wrestling, so we don't take commercial breaks while matches are happening. So we'll take 5 minutes after this one ends. Trying to find an appropriate look for these guys. And good. All right. So we are going to see in this next match, Brian Johnson, who was in Ring of Honor before that promotion went on its hiatus before being purchased by Tony Khan. But Brian Johnson, the Mecca, number 1. Brian Johnson, again, formerly of Ring of Honor, the Philadelphia native, 6 feet, 202 pounds. Made his debut on the 500 last year at number 488, climbs to number 226 this year. And he is in there with the Samoan Werewolf, 6'2", 285 pounds of Jacob Fatu, one of the top stars in Major League Wrestling. And guys, we talk about it a lot on this show. If you're not watching Major League Wrestling, you really should be. It's good times, very old school storytelling. with some very, kind of diverse styles. They've got hardcore stuff. They've got lucha. They've got more traditional kind of sports entertainment wrestling, a little bit of everything. Fatu is the longest, I think the longest reigning world champion in MLW history. Was unseated through the entire evaluation period. Or he lost the title after the evaluation period. He was champion through the whole time. The current champion, Alexander Hammerstone, closing in. He's starting to get close to almost a year as champion himself. He won his number one contender spot by winning the Battle Riot, and this year's Battle Riot is coming up soon in New York. Battle Riot is remember Ultimo Lucha in Lucha Underground, where it's a Rumble style battle royal, except you can be pinned or submitted as well. That's how the Battle Riot works. 40 men, 40 people. There have been female entrants in the past. It will be low kick from Johnson. Johnson, we saw in the first round, beat Carl Fredericks from New Japan in the 10th longest match of the tournament so far, going 24 minutes. And Jacob Fatu, we saw beat Tristan Archer back in episode 10, which at 26:59 was the 5th longest match of the tournament. Also got 100% rating. Fatu, again, representing MLW, which has a 6-13 record in our tournament, which is the worst record among promotions with at least 4 matches. So not a great showing from MLW, but Fatu can start to help turn that around by beating Brian Johnson here. Shot to the midsection from Fatu, who has recently gotten in the crosshairs of El Jefe, Cesar Duran, formerly Dario Cueto in Lucha Underground, maintaining some continuity with that promotion. Fun confrontation between him and Taya Valkyrie on this week's show. Taya, the first ever MLW featherweight champion, which is their women's division, defeating Holodead. A little surprised that they didn't do a tournament or anything for it. They just chose those two as the top contenders and had a match. It was a good match. Taya won, as she should. Taya is one of the best female wrestlers in the world, probably the best luchadora of all time, despite being Canadian. But she's multiple time Reina de Reinas champion, Queen of Queens champion in AAA. I think she was trios champion briefly in Lucha Underground, if I'm remembering correctly. Some of those later seasons kind of run together for me, so I may be confusing her with Sexy Star's run early on, and I think Ivelisse also for sure was a trios champion. Might be wrong about Taya, as I am wont to do sometimes. I just forget stuff. But Brian Johnson going for the pin now on the Samoan Werewolf. Fatu headed toward a big time showdown in a Weapons of Mass Destruction match. I think that's on next week's MLW show. Him and Mads Kruger, who was his right-hand man as a member of Contra Unit before that group fell apart late last year. Kruger has recently been doing Cueto's bidding, but that's mostly just because Cueto wants to hurt Fatu and Alex Hammerstone, and Kruger just likes to hurt people in general. I don't think he's technically working for Cueto in that regard, but Cueto knows how to exploit somebody who wants to hurt people by just sending them out there to hurt people. I neglected to mention when the match started, this is the 31 seed Fatu against the 226 seed Johnson, which makes this a quote-unquote chalk match, meaning that these are the two that were supposed to get to this point. We have 5 such matches on today's show. The other 4 will all be in the second half of the show, which will happen after the 5-minute break we're going to take after this match. Still a lot of really fun wrestling to go. Next week's show is going to be huge as well, as will all of the shows going forward as we continue to narrow down what started with 500. We are now down to 188. We got 60 more matches to go here in this round, so that's counting this show 6 more episodes until we have our final 128, and then we can start on the 3rd and 4th rounds. There will be fewer and fewer episodes this summer. One, because I miss Mike, and I want to get our team together for as many episodes as possible. But also, Malia, that's my wife, her birthday is in early July. So I will likely take some time off around then to do that. It's also the holiday weekend for the 4th of July. So probably no shows. We'll probably do a show next week, but probably won't do one the following week, possibly the following 2 weeks. I'll keep you posted on that. And then there will be a couple weeks in August where we won't do shows because we will be traveling at the beginning of the month. And then my birthday, my 40th, is at the end of August. And, much as I love you guys, I will probably take that weekend off. Once we head back into the fall, we'll get back to more frequent shows. Just wanted to give you a heads up that the schedule is going to get a little wonky for a little bit here this summer, just from travel and stuff. We are barreling down those tracks toward crowning a champion. As I mentioned, we've had over 300 matches in the tournament, and we're definitely not giving up anytime soon. We're just going to have to take a little bit of time off this summer. Johnson again with the low blow, knowing that you can't really target a Samoan's head if you want to take him down. You got to use other means. Referee, is that Marty Asami that's in there as the referee, being very lenient. Atlantis Jr. is backstage watching this. After having won our opener, we know he will face the winner of this match. Fatu with the Samoan nerve hold, shades of Yokozuna. Jawbreaker from Johnson, stacks him up with the pin. 1 count only. Brian Johnson, probably best known to most wrestling fans for his lengthy feud with Danhausen last year, when Ring of Honor was still a thing. Of course, Danhausen got the last laugh as he is now teaming with Hook in AEW, and Johnson is a free agent. But that's how the cookie crumbles sometimes. So he's going to be looking for that DDT. Is Johnson? He just hit one recently, but Fatu continues to just pummel Johnson every opportunity he gets. Johnson swings and misses on the clothesline, does not miss on the low drop kick. Johnson going for a suplex. No, Fatu reverses, sending Johnson. Oh, thought he was going to send Johnson to the floor. Instead, the big Samoan splash off the top rope. Sorry, don't mind me. Throat was getting a little dry there. Top rope cutter from Johnson, but Fatu pops right to his feet. I doubt he will after that. 1, 2. Oh, I thought Johnson was going to pull off another upset here, or pull off an upset. It'd be another in terms of the show, but it would be his first. He was supposed to win in the first round. Collision near the corner. Fatu out of the top rope, going for that Samoan splash again. No, going for his moonsault. That's a 285-pound moonsault, and that is enough. Number 31, Jacob Fatu, advances over Brian Johnson with the moonsault press. Fatu face Atlantis Jr. round number 3. So now we know Jacob Fatu and Atlantis Jr., Jimmy Lloyd, and Balian Aki. Guys, I am still reeling from the fact that Roman Reigns has lost his debut here in Pro Wrestling Simulated, losing to Jimmy Lloyd from Game Changer Wrestling. I mean, putting over the top indie promotion. Did not see that coming from the Tribal Chief. Fortunately for Roman, his undisputed WWE Universal title not on the line in our opening, or not our opening contest, but in his first match in the tournament. So Jimmy Lloyd is not the champion. Roman Reigns still is. Fatu and Atlantis Jr. will be happening in round number 3. When we come back, as I mentioned, our main event tonight is Tetsuya Naito against Soberano Jr. We will also see Effie against Shuji Ishikawa, Sami Callihan against Yuki Ueno, Dr. Wagner Jr. against Gino Medina, Atticus Kogar and Zicky Dice, Serbi Guevara and Stu Grayson, and then, of course, that big main event. Don't go anywhere. We've got a lot of really good simulated wrestling still to come. And I'll be right back. And we're back. Hey, everybody. Thanks for sticking with us through the 5-minute break. I had to go and, grab a little snack. It's skipped breakfast to come and do this. So you'll never hear me complain about it, though. This is a blast. I'm so glad that Mike agreed to do this with me last year when I came up with the idea. And we're just gonna, as the great SmackDown unlockable character Fred Durst once put it, keep on rolling, baby. Our next match is another one of our chalk matches. Barb Sasaki is our referee from Stardom. We will see Game Changer Wrestling's Effie against All Japan Pro Wrestling's Shuji Ishikawa. This is our second of 5 chalk matches on the day. Effie, native of Tallahassee, Florida, 6'2", 229 pounds. But here comes his opponent, one half of the All Japan Pro Wrestling Tag Team Champions, Shuji Ishikawa, from Iwata, Shizuoka, Japan, 6'5", 287. A huge favorite in terms of size in this one. We saw him beat Alan Angels back in episode 11. Excuse me. Effie, on the other hand, defeated the number 95 seed Brandon Watley in what was listed as the third worst match of the tournament so far, with only a 73% rating. Ishikawa's match with Angels got a 94. All Japan Pro Wrestling is 10-1 in this tournament, which is the best record among promotions with at least 5 matches. It was during the break, I was updating the bracket. We, of course, know Jimmy Lloyd and Balian Aki, Jacob Fatu and Atlantis Jr., and we know Francesco Akira has moved on. We won't know his opponent until next week. The winner of this match will face the winner between Dr. Wagner Jr. and Gino Medina, both of whom pulled off upsets in the first round. Just been, sort of working through the stats during the break. Nothing new in terms of longest matches. None of the first 5 matches of the show cracked the 24-minute and 4-second mark, which would make it into the top 10 longest matches. None of our matches were shorter than 9 minutes 36 seconds, which would be what would be required to crack the 10 shortest matches. But I did mention that the Atlantis Jr. Jesse Goddard's match only got a 75% evaluation, which does crack the 10 lowest rated matches list, tying it for 7th with Chris Sabin versus Toru Sugiura from episode 6, Chessman and Eric Ryan from episode 15, and Luchasaurus against Isaiah Broner from episode 16. So this is the second lowest rated match of round 2 thus far, behind only Killer Cross and AC Mack from episode 25. Cross has the ignominious luck to be the only wrestler to have 2 matches in the 10 lowest rated. Fortunately, weirdly, this is only the second time that the opener on a show has cracked the top 10, the other being Karrion Kross's first round match against Mr. Iguana. Atlantis Jr., Jesse Goddard's not loved by the evaluators over at Fire Pro Wrestling World. It is now part of a 4-way tie for the 7th worst match of the tournament thus far. Mathematically, the upset of Jimmy Lloyd beating Roman Reigns does not crack the top 10 biggest upsets, but it is Roman is now the highest seed to be eliminated, actually knocking Hangman Adam Page, number 34, out of the top 10. He falls to the 11th highest seed eliminated, Ultimo Guerrero, who has been number one since very early in the tournament, the number 17 seed, has been usurped as Roman Reigns drops in the second round. Big power bomb there from Ishikawa, gets a 2.9, according to referee Barb Sasaki. So yeah, Roman, the four of our six biggest, highest seeds that have been eliminated have all dropped in the second round. That's Reigns, Jonathan Gresham, Keith Lee, and Kazuchika Okada. The remainder of the top 10 made up by Guerrero, Orange Cassidy, Adam Scherr, Nick Aldis, Cesaro, and Pac. No change in the top 10 or the bottom 10 seeds remaining in the tournament. I have not yet had a chance to update the promotion standings, but I can say that the Aki Demo match is the 45th 100% quality match of the tournament so far. I think that is all of the housekeeping stuff in terms of stats from the first half of the show. I don't know how much any of you guys care about that, but I do. I think that kind of stuff is fascinating. I do, as we've mentioned many times before on this show, I have a big old spreadsheet where I keep track of all of this kind of stuff. Just because I think it makes for fun, Twitter content during the week. Hey, here's an interesting thing. Moonsault stomp from Effie as we reach the 10-minute mark now. Effie rolls through 2.9. Those counts are getting a little closer and a little closer. Dr. Wagner Jr. and Gino Medina are backstage watching this. Effie sent to the floor as Ishikawa suplexes him to the concrete. Head to the floor now. Nice whip by Effie. Oh, man, doing some joint manipulation there with that step over arm lock. Ishikawa manages to escape. Battle on the floor continues. Samoan driver on the concrete by Effie. One half of Team Bussy with Ali Catch, the current GCW World Tag Team Champions. Choke slam from Ishikawa. Again, this is a chalk match. Effie, the number 95 seed, Ishikawa, number 162. Both of these wrestlers were expected to make it to this point. If Effie wins, he will remain in that chalky bracket. Excuse me. As obviously the top 128 seeds are all supposed to make the round of 128. Super kick by Effie. Back to the top rope. Oh, he went for that double stomp moonsault, but Ishikawa moved. Side suplex. Into an Uranagi. I will, without spoiling anything for the early shows in FXE, we do have one of our trainees is developing that move as his finish, and it looks awesome. I also recently introduced this wrestler to the Code Red, which is not a move he'd ever seen before, but he's going to try to incorporate that into his repertoire as well. We were just talking about cool things that he could do, and I was like, have you ever considered, I think it would look rad if you did this, and showed him a YouTube clip. He's like, I've never seen that before, but I want to do it. 2.9 on the big sit-out Liger bomb from Ishikawa. Just standard moonsault there from Effie. I was kind of expecting another stomp, but the moonsault does it. Effie advances to round number 3, number 95 in our tournament. Effie moves on. Again, we'll face the winner between Dr. Wagner Jr. and Gino Medina, which is coming up shortly. 15 minutes, 2 seconds with a moonsault press. Effie picks up the win. That entered into the almighty spreadsheet. It's not a Bobby Lashley spreadsheet. It's a different kind of almighty. Shuji Ishikawa out. That is a 98% evaluation, which is good. Help bring up that average. I was actually at 3 consecutive matches at the 89% rating, which has made that the average. We had a 75 to start, 100, then 89, 89, 89. Now a 98 pulls the overall average up. That's also our second consecutive match to end with a moonsault. That's the kind of stuff that I keep track of because I am a nerd. All right, so mentioned that winner that Effie will face the winner between Dr. Wagner Jr. and Gino Medina. We will get to that match shortly, but first, we will see one of my favorite referees, Bakery Yagi, Takayuki Yagi from Dragon Gate, will be officiating this match, which is another in the third of our 5 chalk matches here in episode 31, as DDT's number 143 seed Yuki Ueno takes on representing Impact Wrestling number 114 Sami Callihan. And that's Sami Callihan, not to be confused with Sabre Guevara, who we will actually be seeing later on when he takes on Stu Grayson. The winner of this match will face the winner of our main event, Naito and Soberano. But first we have to find out who that's going to be. So let's head to the ring. Pardon me. Like I said, our third of 5 chalk matches. Yuki Ueno, member of the 37 Kamin in DDT. Never been ranked in the PWI 500. Made his debut this year at number 143. He defeated Slice Boogie back in episode 16 with a backslide. DDT 10-4, which is the second best record among promotions with at least 5 matches. His opponent, Impact Wrestling's Sami Callihan, who defeated Dark Sheik in episode 22. Impact Wrestling, 19 wins, 20 losses, makes for the second worst record among promotions with at least 20 matches. Callihan has the size advantage. Both men 5'9", but Callihan outweighs Ueno by almost 40 pounds, 210 versus 172. Snapmare takeover there by Ueno. Looking for a suplex, but Callihan blocks it. Again, has that superior size. Callihan had a brief run in NXT, which is for probably mainstream wrestling audiences, their biggest exposure to him. But he has been a mainstay in Impact, where he has, as with a lot of wrestlers in Impact, the booking has been a little inconsistent with him. But he has put together a pretty impressive career in Impact. Definitely in the upper tier of guys in that promotion. Elbow to the back there. He did team with Ken Shamrock late or in the summer of 2020 at the beginning of the evaluation period. They challenged the North for the Impact Tag Team titles at Slammiversary. Slammiversary is coming up shortly this year. So 2 years ago at Slammiversary, that tag match happened. How things have changed. Shamrock gone. Ethan Page, one half of the North, gone to AEW. Josh Alexander, the other half of the North, now a perennial contender for the World Heavyweight title. Yuki Ueno held the KOD tag team titles with Naomi Yoshimura through large chunks of the evaluation period. Also won the DDT Universal title from Chris Brooks before eventually losing it to Daisuke Sasaki. And check out his his match. If you're liking Konosuke Takeshita in AEW, check out a match that the two of them had where they teamed against Kaito Kiyomiya and Yoshiki Inamura at last year's Cyber Fight Festival. Which also, if you haven't watched this year's Cyber Fight Festival, there's some good stuff there. DDT really doing some good stuff over the last year or so. Definitely a promotion on the rise. Sammy going for a tombstone, and he hits it. Pretty hard-hitting first 5.5 minutes here between these two. Callahan sends Ueno into the corner. Yeah. Speaking of wrestling news, especially with regards to SmackDown and Vince McMahon's terrible idea of doing a live promo, there was a prominent sign in the crowd for Sasha Banks. If you go on WWE.com and look at photos from the night, they photoshopped Sasha's name off of the sign. So it looks like the person is just holding up a white piece of poster board. Just petty. You have bigger things to worry about, WWE. I mentioned Slammiversary is coming up. Slammiversary is happening tonight. Josh Alexander defends the world title against Eric Young. There will be a Queen of the Mountain match for the Knockouts world title. Mickie James will be the special enforcer as Tasha Steele. Ooh, big splash off the top from Ueno. That might be enough. 2.9. Tasha Steele defends the title against Chelsea Green, Deonna Purrazzo, Mia Yim, and Jordan Grace. That should be a lot of fun. A lot of talent in that lineup. There will be an Ultimate X match for the X Division title as Ace Austin defends against Jack Evans, Kenny King, Speedball Mike Bailey, Trey Miguel, and Alex Zane. The Impact World Tag Team titles will be on the line as the Briscoes take on the Good Brothers. Sammy going for the pin now. 2.9 only. The Briscoes and the Good Brothers for the tag titles. The Knockouts tag titles will be on the line as Tennille Dashwood and Madison Rayne defend against Rosemary and the aforementioned Taya Valkyrie. There will be a Monsters Ball match featuring Sami Callihan as he takes on Moose. There will be a 10-man tag match as Honor No More, Eddie Edwards, PCO, Vincent, Mike Bennett, and Matt Taven take on the Impact Originals, Frankie Kazarian, the Motor City Machine Guns, Nick Aldis, and a mystery partner who has yet to be revealed. The Impact Digital Media title will be on the line as Rich Swann defends against Brian Myers. And there will be a reverse battle royal, which the participants have not been named for that yet. So, lots and lots happening. I'm looking, I'm scrolling. Dave Hebner passed away. Just a lot going on in the world of wrestling. Jeff Hardy's DUI. Let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, sorry, I missed the pin. Oh, Troy Two Dimes Donovan released by WWE as well. Sami Callihan, number 114, ahead of his match with Moose tonight, now has all the momentum, having defeated Yuki Ueno here. My apologies. I was looking up wrestling news to continue talking about, and I missed that diving body press from Sami that gives him the victory and moves him on to round number 3. So Good showing from Yuki Ueno. 12 minutes, 50 seconds. Diving body press. Sammy Callahan breaking the streak of consecutive moonsault presses. So Callahan now moves on to face the winner of tonight's main event in round number 3. So we do know that the winner of this match, our next match, will be facing Effie in round number 3. As we mentioned that earlier, Dr. Wagner Jr. and Gino Medina are up next. The referee will be Yukinori Matsui, who is representing DDT, which is why he was not the referee for this match. Again, we try to keep it as unbiased as we can. Keep the referees from refereeing matches involving their coworkers, lest there be a conflict of interest, shall we say. But yeah, Gino Medina has been featured a lot on MLW TV over the last few weeks, El Intocable, but has not been super successful, in large part thanks to, pardon the inadvertent pun, one of the biggest stars in MLW, Micro Man, who has taken Major League Wrestling by storm. A very fun wrestler to watch. Apparently, there he is. I'm gonna say, scrolling through the tires I had for Wagner, and they all still had his mask, but I was able to find one that didn't, because he's been unmasked for a couple of years now. Somebody's got to have one. Dr. Wagner Jr., due to copyright reasons, is not coming to the ring to his usual entrance theme of Bad Medicine by Bon Jovi. But first, Gino Medina, 6'2", 220 pounds, native of Monterrey, Mexico, upset Hangman Adam Page back in episode 11, the 7th biggest upset of the tournament, making Medina the 6th lowest seed remaining in the tournament. And he is in there against number 290, Dr. Wagner Jr., who upset number 223, Bobby Guns, back in episode 11 in a 100% quality match with his Wagner driver. This is actually the second ever confrontation between the two, as Wagner teamed with Black Taurus and El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. To defeat Gino Medina, Silver Tiger, and Ultimo Dragon for Promociones Martinez back in September 2019. So it's the first ever singles confrontation between the two, but it is their second time sharing the ring. Wagner, a 36-year veteran, has been a professional wrestler 10 years longer than Gino Medina has been alive, if that tells you anything. Gino, El Intocable, the Latin heartthrob. El Intocable means the untouchable. Dr. Wagner Jr., he's going to be looking for that Black Tiger Bomb, the Wagner driver, the Wagner lock, the Michinoku driver. When you've been wrestling 36 years, you accumulate finishers. The 56-year-old from Torreon, Coahuila, Mexico. And as I mentioned, Medina is from Monterrey. Medina, a six-year pro. Is that right? That it's not on his cage match profile, but I have it as 6 years, according to PWI, when the issue came out. So I don't know if he's past the 7-year, the 7-year mark. Wagner made his first appearance on the PWI 500 way back in 1997. His highest ever rating, he's accomplished it twice, in 1999 and 2010, when he got all the way up to number 16. He was number 290 on this list. Medina made his first appearance on the list in 2018, when he was number 499, barely made the list. In 2020, he was 426, and then he dropped back down to 479 for this evaluation period. So yeah, Gino Medina looking to pull off another upset here. Wagner already pulled off one upset, so this would actually be a chalk victory. Well, it'd be an expected victory for the Doctor, but it would not be chalk because he was supposed to lose to Bobby Guns 20 episodes ago. They all start to run together, which is why I keep track of all of that. We've had, as I mentioned, we're at like 30 2/3 episodes done now. Figure 4 there from Gino. Headbutt and an elbow drop. And a DDT from Wagner. Both men concentrating on their opponent's head. Gino firing off punches. And a big chop. Leapfrog. Buries a knee in the midsection. But Wagner's just going to suplex him to the floor. Wagner taking a second to stop and catch his breath. This edit of Dr. Wagner Jr. sort of resembles the most interesting man in the world. Diving headbutt from Medina. He doesn't always take headbutts, but when he does, he prefers to follow up with kicks in the corner. That was terrible. Medina going for a pile driver. Yes, jumping pile driver from Medina. Dropping the good doctor right on his head. 1, 2, 3. No, 2.9. I thought that was going to be it. Suplex from Wagner. No, into a brain buster. Now to the top rope. Somersault body attack there. I'm not really sure what to call that. I know that's a German suplex with a bridge, but he was in the ropes, so the referee does not count. Another kick to the midsection. Go behind. Schwein! But he's unable to capitalize. Medina actually to his feet first. Going for another one of those pile drivers. No, backdropped out of it. What does Wagner want to do now? Pulls him to his feet. Drop toe hold from Medina now to the top rope. Elbow to the spine of Dr. Wagner Jr. Thank you, 10 minutes. Gino Medina swings and misses on an elbow in the corner, but manages to roll him up to 0.9. Another very close call. Big elbow from Wagner. Again, I cannot overstate the fact that Dr. Wagner Jr. has been a pro wrestler for a decade longer than Gino Medina has been alive. Roll up. Wagner has almost been a pro wrestler as long as I have been alive, and I'm turning 40 in August. It's pretty wild. I thought he was going for the headbutt again. Instead, he drops another elbow. Back to the top. Another elbow. If at first you don't succeed, try again. If at first you don't succeed, skydiving isn't for you. Sending him off the ropes. Going for a backdrop. No. Snap power slam. Drop toe hold. Again to the top goes Medina. Again back down with the elbow. Go behind by Medina. Sends him off the ropes. Another clothesline. Medina to the top rope. Another elbow. Excuse me. All right. I think it's about... Oh, Wagner driver. 1, 2, 3. That does it. Dr. Wagner Jr. advances to the third round of the 500, the number 290 seed. All right. Well, here we're going to take another brief break. I realized I have not taken my meds from from being sick a couple weeks ago. I missed my morning dose, and I'm starting to feel it a little bit. So we're going to take another quick 5-minute break here while I medicate, and then we'll pop right back on for our last 3 matches as Atticus Kogar takes on Zicky Dice, Sammy Guevara against Stu Grayson, and our main event, Tetsuya Naito and El Soberano Jr. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in 5. And we're back. Thanks for sticking with me through that break. Feeling much better now after having taken medicine. Should be able to make it through these last three matches nice and easy. Starting things off here with the outlandish Zicky Dice, the number 450 seed in our tournament. One of the lowest seeds remaining, representing Impact Wrestling, upset Kevin Owens in a 100% quality match back in episode 10. And here comes his opponent, representing 44OH, Cleveland, Ohio, the silver-toothed Satan, Atticus Kogar, who upset Hiroki Goto back in episode 10. This is the second ever meeting between these two. They met at in Blackcraft's No Apologies show in a Baphomet Battle Royal that was won by Dice. So Zicky Dice actually 1-0, the only time he and Atticus Kogar ever shared the ring. I thought he was going for a spine buster. Instead, it's just an inverted atomic drop. The winner of this match will be facing the winner of our next match between Sammy Guevara and Stu Grayson. I'm sorry. I'm using my my mouse that usually has its custom buttons mapped. For some reason, today is not. Usually, if I click a certain button, it will delete what I'm looking at on this other screen. But apparently today, it is deciding to cycle between apps, which is not helpful, nor did I ask it to do that. So again, today I'll pop on with some some quick stats at the end of the show. I will say that by virtue of his loss, Gino Medina is no longer the sixth lowest seed remaining in the tournament because he is no longer remaining in the tournament. So that bumps Big Calix, Gregory Iron, Timmy Lou Retton, and Dmitry Alexandrov all up a spot. I'll have to do a little bit of digging to figure out who fills in at number 10 in that top 10 list. We'll also take a look. I'm suspecting, when was the last time we had a show? Okay, so we've counted 4 so far, 5. Okay, so it's not that low. There have been 6 or 7 shows with lower evaluation or average evaluations than this one. That 100% from Aki and Damo earlier is doing a lot of heavy lifting on a show that's had a lot of matches in the 80s for their average evaluation. We'll see if Zicky Dice and Atticus Kogar can help with that. I do apologize. I'm not sure if my mic just picked that up, but one of my neighbors, I don't know if they've been restoring a very loud car and have to test it out a few times a day, or if they're just assholes. But I can hear their engine revving very loudly outside my window. So my office is not soundproofed. Perhaps it should be. As you can also see, I didn't bother with the green screen again today. It and I are fighting. One of these days, I will give it another chance. But it is not this day. On this day, we fight. Kick from Kogar. I believe that's Daisuke Kiso from Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling as the officiant here. Yes, it is Daisuke Kiso. So we have reached the point in this tournament where I can recognize Joshi referees just by looking at them. I mean, I also assign them to the match, but I had forgotten. So just based on looking at them, that's how I could tell. Yeah, Rev Rum Rum. Zicky Dice trained at the Black and Brave Wrestling Academy by Marek Brave and Seth Rollins. Atticus Kogar was his trainers not listed actually on his cage match profile. Man. If anybody's got a spare, $1 million laying around that they feel like throwing my way so I can sell this house and move out of this neighborhood with this terrible HOA and annoying neighbors, I would be eternally grateful. In one of those situations where we'd sell the house for a massive profit over what we paid for it, but because the housing market is in the state it's in, any house that's in the ballpark of what we paid for this one is going to be the crappy houses that we didn't look at last time. And we bought this house for $177,000 in 2014, and it is, well, a bank bought the house and we are paying them a mortgage every month. But any houses that cost $177,000 now are the crappy ones that cost like $80,000 in 2014. So any profit we get from selling the house now would just kind of be worthless because we would need every penny to pay for the new house. Unless we moved somewhere that isn't here, which may happen. Who knows? Maybe things will go really well at FXC and I'll get a deal somewhere. And now we'll move to Stamford or Jacksonville or LA or New York, or I get a job at Impact. Maybe we'll just stay in Nashville, but have enough money to buy a nicer house. Who knows? Anything can happen in the world of pro wrestling, including an unlikely scenario of me getting an actual job in the business. So I'm looking at, Cody Rhodes is injured. I'm still looking through the news. I think I have made it back to all of the news I got up to. They're making a movie about the Von Erichs. Then Zac Efron's going to be in it. So that's pretty wild. There were rumors about Thunder Rosa sandbagging Marina Shafir. Let's see, what else we got? Yeah, that's that. Yeah. Top rope Kogar with a big clothesline. Taking Dice down. It's the Silver-Toothed Satan against outlandish Zicky Dice. And that is enough. Kogar, number 319, advances over number 450, Zicky Dice. 14 minutes, 46 seconds. Victory for Kogar in our anti-penultimate match. A twisting bottom drop on old Zicky Dice. 14 minutes. Bottom drop. So, who will Kogar face in round number 3? Well, we're about to find out because our semi-main event is to determine his opponent. I almost clicked the button on my mouse to delete again. Hey, if anybody knows anything about Logitech mice and knows why it keeps forgetting my custom inputs, I would appreciate any insight you can offer. Because I'm getting very, very tired of having to do this almost every day. Go in and update. And it remembers them. If I launch the Logitech app, it remembers the settings that I have. I just have to open the app and save them in order to actually have it do the thing it's supposed to do just from, from having it. I don't know. It's obnoxious, but hey, it's technology, right? There's only so much we can do. So this next match should be really good. I have been looking forward to this one since the bracket determined that it was the direction we were going. Let's head to the ring now for our semi-main event. Our 4th of 5 chalk matches here in episode 31. Starting with the Victoriaville, Quebec native, the number 191 seed in the tournament, former member of the Dark Order, Stu Grayson, who defeated Masa Kitamiya back in episode 10 with a 100% match, pinning him with a frog splash. And this is going to be his second ever encounter, second time sharing a ring with the Spanish God, the number 66 seed in our tournament, one half of the AAA Mixed Tag Team Champions, newest member of the Jericho Appreciation Society, Sammy Guevara, who defeated Johnny Swinger back in episode 10 to get to this point. They both participated in a tag team battle royal back at AEW Beach Break in February of 2021. Neither of their teams won. That was the night that MJF and Jericho earned their tag title match. And Sammy teamed with Jake Hager as their Sammy Hagar team, which Jericho loved the name of, and Sammy didn't get because he's too young, which was a pretty funny gag. And Stu, of course, teamed with Evil Uno as the Dark Order. Stu has since left AEW, no longer a member of the Dark Order. It'll be interesting to see what he does on the indies, because Stu Grayson is one of the great underrated talents in this business. He's a 16-year pro, but he's only 33. Like, he has spent literally half his life doing this. Excellent high flyer. Got some good, technical bona fides as well. I'm expecting big things for Stu Grayson as an independent wrestler. Sammy, of course, on the other hand, an 11-year pro. He's 28, trained by Booker T. Just one of the best young stars in the business. The native of Katy, Texas. He's billed from Houston. He's actually from Katy. Of course, his has been getting a lot of heat for his relationship with Ty Conti, who is also a member of the Jericho Appreciation Society, not allowed ringside. Once again, there are no seconds in the 500. Referee busted open, as you saw from that collision earlier, which I believe is the first blood we have seen in this show, which is kind of rare. Usually we've had a couple of guys get busted open during the course of the show, but no, just the referee here. Standing moonsault, only a 1 count from Sammy. I can't remember the exact quote from Tony Khan, but it's something to the effect of, "I like Sammy, I like Ty. I like Sammy and Ty together. Apparently the fans disagree." I also like Sammy. I also like Ty. I'm happy that they're happy together. They're engaged now. That's great. If you need a photographer for your wedding, I'm married to a great one. I'd be happy to send you over some details. But admittedly, as an on-screen couple, they're pretty cringy. And not in a good, like how Edge and Lita were. It's just, I don't know. It doesn't really work for either of their personalities as performers. Yeah, I'm just not a fan, and neither are most fans. But they're sticking with it, keeping them together. But at least they had the sense to make them heels and put them with Jericho, who can get them over as obnoxious heels better than just about anybody. Maybe in the history of the business, certainly in the business right now. Sammy hooks the leg. 1, 2, only a 2 count. Knee to the midsection. So the car guy has stopped revving his engine, but we do have somebody out there mowing the lawn now at one of our houses in the neighborhood. Not sure whose. I do have somebody coming over to take a look at possibly removing a stump from our front yard. Hopefully that does not happen during the course of this show, because that might also get quite loud. But I have not yet heard confirmation on that. Arm drag from Sammy, who then rolls through. Rather than going for a pin or setting up another move, decides to show off a little bit. Another standing moonsault. 1, 2, only a 2 count. It's going to take more than that to keep Stu Grayson down. Grayson with a big clothesline. Sent into the corner by Sammy. Sammy tying him to the tree. Whoa. Kicks to the midsection. And Stu drops pretty much right on his head. Takes an elbow to the back of the head from Sammy. Sammy with a shooting star press across Stu's back. Apparently taking Stu Grayson lightly, which is just, stupid. Sammy, you know better than that. Jaw jacker there from Stu Grayson. Up onto the shoulders. Into a gut buster. 1, 2, 0.9. Series of kicks from Sammy. Again, taking the time to show off. Not following up to the top. 630. That might be enough. That's apparently not, because he's going to do it again. 1260 now from Sammy. Doesn't even go for the pin after back-to-back 630s. I don't know what Sammy's thinking here. Again, showing off. Running knee to the back of the head. Sammy looks like he's trying to make an example of Grayson. Grayson not having it. Throwing him down by the hair. Drop toe hold from Sammy. And a super kick to the kneeling Stu Grayson. Again, the winner of this will face Atticus Kogar in round number 3. Trading strikes here. A big super kick from Stu Grayson. Goes for the pin. 1, 2, 3. Oh, no, 2.9. As Sammy kicks out of the big super kick. Maybe now Sammy will start to take things more seriously. Another knee to the back of the head. Off the ropes. Baseball slide drop kick to the side of the head. Sammy sent into the corner now by Stu. Stu putting him up top, possibly going for a superplex. No. Sammy with a sunset bomb off the top rope. Just needs a chop to the chest for his troubles, then a jawbreaker. To his feet. Sammy to the top again. I thought he was going for the 630, but no, instead, just a somersault body press. Sort of a variation on PCO's cannonball finisher. Another gut buster from Stu. 1, 2.9. Stu Grayson almost pulled off the upset there. Throwing Sammy down by his hair again. And now an elbow to the back. Another elbow to the back. Super kick from Stu. Another super kick. Is this going to be enough? It is. Stu Grayson, number 191, has upset number 66. Sammy Guevara will now face Atticus Kogar in round number 3. And okay. Had enough talk. It's time. Main event. 14 minutes, 45 seconds. Stu Grayson super kick enough to keep Sammy Guevara down. As we now head to our final match of the day, our 319th overall in the tournament, as we will determine who will face Sami Callihan in the 3rd round. Once I get to get the participants added, we of course do this live every week. There is no pre-recorded. So these moments where I'm kind of vamping and talking to fill the time, it's because I'm in Fire Pro selecting the participants for the next match, because you can't really build cards in it other than if you're doing the general manager mode, which I'm blanking on what that's called in this game. But since you can't have a promotion that has 500 wrestlers in it, I have to just use the exhibition mode and do them one at a time. But yes, here we go. Just got a notification that my battery on my controller is low. Hopefully it survives the match. I'm going to go ahead and plug it in just to be safe. But here we go to the ring for our main event. Our 11th of 11 matches, our 5th of 5 chalk matches. Starting things off with another CMLL representative. We started the day with CMLL. We end the day with CMLL. El Soberano Jr. from Torreon, Coahuila, Mexico. The CMLL middleweight champion, 5'11" and a half inches, 165 pounds. Defeated LA Knight, now known as Max Dupree, back in episode 11 to get to this point. His opponent, the number 15 seed, who had been number 5 on the list the previous year, which was his all-time high, slid just a little bit to number 15, to the point where he had to have a first-round match where he did defeat Robert Martyr with Stranglehold Alpha to get to this point. I did have a note that none of the top 16 seeds have been eliminated. That is no longer the case, as we now know Roman Reigns has been eliminated. This is the third time these two have met, back in 2017 at the New Japan Pro Wrestling Presents CMLL Fantastica Mania. Naito teamed with Evil and Roosh to beat Soberano, Atlantis, and Mascara Dawn, aka Manabu Nakanishi. And then at the same event the following year, NJPW presents CMLL Fantastica Mania 2018, Naito teamed with Bushi and Hiromu Takahashi to beat Soberano, Drone, and Volador Jr. So, third time, the first ever singles meeting between these two. I mentioned Naito was number 5 on the 2020 list. Soberano was 334. This number 242 this year is the highest Soberano Jr. has ever been ranked in the PWI 500. So, who will no, sorry, that's a New Day thing. The winner of this will face Sami Callihan in round number 3. Big card coming up next week. I will run through that once this match is over. But yeah, next week, episode 32, we will continue to work through the second round. We've got 5 more episodes left in the second round, at which point we will have gone from 500 wrestlers all the way down to 128. And then there will be a run of, I believe, 8 episodes, at which point we will then be down to 32. We're getting real close to the end of this thing here. Very, very exciting. I cannot wait until we get to that finale and crown our first ever champion. Probably that same day, we will either have a match or we will start whatever the next tournament is going to be. I would like to do one for PWI's tag team and or women's lists. Both lists are significantly smaller. This year they only did 50 tag teams and I believe 150 women. So that tournament will go significantly faster than the 500. But at that point we can crown some champions and then just start to do some fantasy booked shows rather than having to stick to the bracket. We can still do brackets. I'd love to do some sort of interpromotional G1 type thing. Where we take, for, I think you can do up to 16 per, they call them brackets in this, like blocks. That's what they call them in the G1. You can do 4 blocks of up to 16 in each, so that's 64. I mean, we could do something with, I don't know, like all the recognized world champions and then like the secondary champions. I don't know, come up with something. But like I mentioned, before too long, I'd like to do something with a women's title tournament and a tag team title tournament once the 500 is over and we have crowned the first world's champion. Big pop-up Rana. Only a 1 count from Soberano. Again, this is a chalk match. Tetsuya Naito, number 15. Soberano, number 242. Kicks now from Soberano. The high flyer from Torreon. In there against the leader of Los Ingobernables de Japón. Naito going for the pin. 1, 2. 2 count only. Another super kick from Soberano. Runs up the turnbuckle, middle rope, moonsault. 2. 2 count only. Naito with a step up enzigiri. Out of the top rope. That twisting moonsault press. The Stardust press. Standing moonsault now from Soberano. Trading high-flying moves here. Naito with a victory roll. Too close to the ropes, says referee Mac Takeda, representing Big Japan Pro Wrestling. Rocker dropper from Soberano. But Naito back to his feet. Downward spiral. And that cross arm breaker. And another snap Rana there. Soberano to the top with a frog splash in the ropes. Sends Naito to the floor. Are we going to get a dive here? We are. El Soberano Jr. Tornillo plancha to the floor. Takes out Destino. Destino on the floor from Naito. Then a standing neck breaker. Soberano going for a Rana, but Naito turns it into a power bomb. Still getting close to that count out. Get in the ring, Naito. Naito's going to win this by count out. Disappointing finish, but Tetsuya Naito, the number 15 seed, on a day when the number 2 seed, Roman Reigns, is knocked out, Tetsuya Naito survives with a count out victory. Only the 3rd count out of the tournament as he eliminates Soberano Jr., the number 242 seed, in our main event. 11 minutes, 39 seconds. We now know Naito will face Sami Callihan. We now know Atticus Kogar and Stu Grayson. We know Dr. Wagner Jr. and Effie. We know Jacob Fatu and Atlantis Jr., Jimmy Lloyd and Balian Aki. We also know Francesco Akira, by virtue of his victory in this match, will face the winner of the first match I'm about to list for next week's show. We've got 10 matches next week instead of 11. Just because that's how the math works out. But next week, episode 32, we will find out who will face Akira when Naomichi Marufuji takes on the one called Manders. We will have Suwama against King Muertes. That's going to be a lot of fun. Effie's tag team partner, Ali Catch, will take on Dalton Castle. Lee Moriarty against Adam Brooks. A match I'm looking forward to. Should be one of the most hard-hitting matches of the tournament thus far. Shinsuke Nakamura takes on Ilya Dragunov. Will Ospreay and Shima. Ricky Starks against Shane Haste. Shun Skywalker against Delmi Exo. Sonata against Satoshi Kojima. And MJF against Octagon Jr. It's a massive card coming up next week. Some really good stuff coming up. We've got 5 more episodes left in round 2 before we dive into rounds 3 and 4, and then ultimately crowning a champion, the winner of the first ever 500-man wrestling tournament, or 500-person wrestling tournament. There have been several women and a couple non-binary folks. So pro wrestling, awesome. Weird that pro wrestling has become one of the more progressive professional sports. Not really a sport, but one of the most inclusive entertainment entities, sports entertainment, if you will. I won't, but you could. Sammy Guevara won't because he's been eliminated. So yeah, 319 of the 500 are gone. 181 remain. We're going to knock out another 10 next week with those 10 big matches. You can see in the upper right corner all of our social media. If you want to follow us there, if you're not already, if you want to tweet at us, use the hashtag the500. We will see it. I'm on there a couple times a day. I will probably tweet here shortly the results of the show, as well as a quick rundown of some new stats from this week's show. The update to the 10 lowest rated matches, the 10 lowest seeds remaining, that kind of thing. Lots of good stuff coming up. Hopefully shortly, you will be able to see me on FXE Crush Live, which will be the weekly TV show from the academy that I am learning to be a commentator at. That's still very surreal. Tom Latimer told me he loved me on Friday. That's a cool thing that is gonna stick in my memory for a while. After having had a lengthy conversation about some pretty in-depth some topics that I was pleasantly surprised he spoke that openly with me about. Of course, I'm not going to tell you guys because that was a private conversation, but just very cool. At the end of it, pump fist, he says, "Love you, brother." Like, wow, okay, cool. Yeah, so that is my life now. I will let you guys get back to your lives. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there, regardless of how you identify. If you identify as a father, I hope you have a happy one. I hope everybody has a happy one, but that I feel that in general. That's specifically for fathers today. I will see you next week here on the 500. Hopefully Mike will be back. I don't anticipate he will be, just due to the nature of the family leave that he's on, but we will see. I may be able to persuade one or more of my fellow trainees to come and join me next week. We'll see how that conversation goes this week. So enjoy your Father's Day. Enjoy Juneteenth. If you don't know what today is about, anything I tell you is not going to do it justice. Please do your own research from a reputable source. Please educate yourself about why today is so important to so many. And I will see you next week.